price for everyone and to have one low price for at-need and pre-need funerals. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to answer your questions with knowledge and caring. They are committed to providing funeral and cremation services with the highest level of care, compassion, and professionalism to the Palm Beach area. They are proud to offer chapel services in their beautiful 150-occupy setting in Boynton Beach or provide services at any cemetery. Weiss Memorial Chapel, located at 202 East Boynton Beach Boulevard in Boynton Beach. Why pay more when the finest in service will cost you less? Call them at 561-737-0001. That's 561-737-0001. Hi,
I'm Steve-O with the Ask the Experts radio show. Join my co-host Renee and I every Friday as we interview some of the most prominent professionals in Palm Beach and Broward County. Each week we combine educational information on a variety of topics with a touch of humor and entertainment in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement so you can be more informed. We offer interviews on such topics as family law, foreclosure defense, estate planning, sleep apnea, roof repair, funeral pre-needs, mold and mildew, alcoholism addiction, and even a show that teaches you how to buy a new and used car from one of the top dealerships in South Florida. If you have a business and would like to be part of the Ask the Expert show, contact us at 954-336-3767. Position your company as an expert in your field. Call Ask the Experts radio show at 954-336-3767. Be sure to catch our show every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. or watch our show live at wwnnradio.com and click on the WWNN TV link.
The law office of John Elias understands that choosing a family law attorney is a difficult decision. The outcome of your case will likely affect your family's future for years to come. You need to set your mind at ease and call Attorney John Elias at 954-392-1501. Attorney John Elias will be open and honest with you about what to expect in your case and treat you with the respect and compassion you deserve. John Elias's practice has been devoted to family law in Florida for over 25 years. He will be there with you every step of the way. John Elias has offices in Pembroke Pines and Boca Raton. Whether you are thinking about filing for divorce or you are having trouble with child support, relocation, or adoption, you should contact Attorney John Elias for any family law matter at 954-392-1501. That's 954-392-1501.
And we are back. Wow, this is going to be a great show this next 30 minutes.
From a funeral home to
family law. I know. But you know what? You need to know about both, though. Now, I mean, look, what? It's 50% of the people go through a divorce now?
At least.
Is it?
I would say more.
At least.
Anyway, I'm Steve-O, co-host Steve-O, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Renee.
What's happening?
Yes. Thanks for tuning in today. If you'd
You
like
just
to
sounded
watch,
like Barry White for a second.
I did. Hey, baby.
What was that?
If you'd like to watch today's show, go to www.wwnnradio.com, and when you come to the homepage, on the left-hand side of the page, it says WNN TV. Click there, and you can actually watch today's show.
Brought to you by AMP2 TV.
Oh, absolutely. So,
tell us a little bit about your firm. So why don't you introduce who we have here?
So we have Attorney John Elias.
Yes.
And actually, I met John about 2 months ago, and I actually heard people, I didn't even tell him this, I actually heard people in the office talking about John. And both of them, there was two different clients, I don't remember the day I was there, they were both talking, said, oh yeah, John's just done a great job John's been such a big help, and I'm going, yes, yes.
That's wonderful to hear.
Because we always want to make sure that we have the expert. So I consider John's law firm one of the top law firms in all of South Florida, and he's got great rates. So here you get a big law firm, but you don't have to pay the big rates, and I think that's
very important. And we also have Katrina Arzumova. He didn't want to pronounce your name, so
no
that's
way.
why.
Are you crazy?
That's why I was saying.
We charge extra for that.
Welcome to the show, guys. So tell everybody, John, where you're located. Where is your office located?
Well, I have my main office in Pembroke Pines at 11200 Pines Boulevard, Suite 200, Pembroke Pines. That's on the corner of Pines and Hiatus, right across the Pembroke Pines Mall. I also share space with Karina at 301.
It's Karina, not Katrina.
I said Katrina.
No, and you wrote Katrina.
I
It's
thought
Karina.
it was a hurricane. I'm
It's
sorry.
not. Maybe she is in the courtroom.
That's a good one. And we both work out of the 301 Yamato Road, Suite 1240 in Boca.
So good, you have offices in both Palm Beach and Broward.
And I also have one in Miami-Dade.
I saw that. I didn't want to
Yeah,
say anything.
yeah.
I saw
So you cover all the counties.
I cover all of Florida. I've had cases up as far as Jacksonville, the West Coast. 90% of my clients are in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. But I do occasionally get a case out of the county.
So if you want a really great attorney and you're in Martin County, it's worth the small drive.
Oh, they drive to you, of course. Some of the attorneys actually go
He's
to
actually
you.
got to drive a window. You can just and Kareem, tell us about your office too.
Well, my name is Karina Arzumanova.
I know, I keep butchering your name. It's very
It's
difficult.
all right. It's all right. And my office is here in Boca. I just have the Boca office, and John and I work together on the other office at the other offices as well. My address is in Boca here is the same as John's, 301 Yamato Road, Suite 1240, and I practice family law and immigration law here. In
Oh,
Boca.
immigration law also.
Yes.
Which is huge right now.
Yes.
So, okay, so let's get into some of these emails that
Oh,
we've
I
been
know, we've
receiving.
got
We got a lot of emails after the last show.
Great.
Yes.
That's good.
So one of the email, one person wanted to know, what if my spouse refuses to sign the divorce papers? So can you refuse to sign divorce papers?
Okay.
You can, but what happens?
Well, an example, Florida's a no-fault state.
Right. Well,
And
explain what that means to everybody.
And Florida, that means that in Florida you can divorce your spouse for whatever reason. You don't like the color of her eyes, you don't like the way she walks, or the way he drives, etc. There's no impediment to you obtaining a divorce in Florida. And I get this question a lot, what if my spouse...
If they don't
husband,
agree to the divorce.
they don't agree, they don't want to sign, well, you serve them. You get them served by a process server or a sheriff. And then once they get served, they have 20 days in order to respond to that complaint. If they don't, then the court enters a default and case is over. So
you can get a divorce even if the spouse doesn't sign.
oh yes, definitely.
Oh.
So is that within like that 90-day period? Isn't it 90 days? No, I'm saying that once you respond, but I thought 3 months here that you could be divorced.
No, it all depends, Renee.
I mean, we had the discussion once before. I was told 3 months, but it took me 3 years.
Right, like I
So-
said, some divorces are over in a month. If we have a signed agreement, like we were talking about, the other spouse signs an agreement.
Right, if they
par-
both agree.
Both agree to all the terms, and that's fine and dandy. Typically, my experience has been a typical contested divorce within 6 to 8 months. However, I've got one in my office now. It's been going on for about 8 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and the other side filed an appeal. They lost the appeal. We're still in what they call post-judgment matters, and it'll probably go on for another year or two.
You know, we got so many emails about custody and
visitation.
and visitation. Is that like a major thing that people have?
Well, I
now?
would think, yes.
Yeah. So is there a specific question, or you just
No,
want
they
me
just
to-
a lot of them just.
How do you divide that up? The custody and the visitation, how does that work?
Okay. Well, we don't use term custody in the state of Florida anymore. We say time sharing and parental rights. So parental rights and responsibility. So what that means is that the court decides on how the parents will be, how the actual time sharing with kids will be divided. And it is presumed that both parents have 50-50 right to spend time with kids, unless there are some sort of circumstances that will lead the judge to decide that kids should spend more time with one parent, not the other. In terms of parental responsibility and the actual rights, the decision-making rights, that's also something that presumably should be 50-50.
How about
Meaning-
living arrangements?
living arrangements.
Right.
Well, the living arrangement is something that will be decided in the actual standard, gold standard that the judge will use as the best interest of the child. What would be in the best interest of that child to live with mom or dad, and
And typically it goes to the mother.
Well, you know, and
Not anymore, right?
We don't.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, not anymore. It's a changed world now. But typically, child will have primary will be living with one parent primarily and spend weekends with another parent.
So what if both are arguing on who's going to get the kids for? I mean, what if they don't? They're fighting about 50-50. Does a judge make that decision?
What do you mean if they're fighting?
Yeah.
If they want to see them more often?
Yeah, like the father wants the children more often. They can't. They want more time with them than just 50-50. Especially, I would think the wives would want more time than just 50-50.
Well, you know, it's something that will, right now in the state of Florida, judges prefer for couples to go for mediation before they start litigating.
Okay.
So what we would do is sit down with both spouses and mediate, meaning go back and forth and find some sort of middle ground, what would be suitable and happy medium for both. And all that, of course, is put in writing, and it's a standard that both parents have to follow and commit to, a schedule that they have to
Does
commit
your
to.
firm do mediation also?
No.
Okay, I know there's a collaborative mediation.
The collaborative law,
Yes.
which is, I'm not a member of that.
Okay.
I mean, I do attend mediations on behalf of my client, but I'm not a certified
It's a
mediator.
whole different world then.
Different world. You've got to get board certified.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Well, not board, but certified as a mediator, etc. I am working on my board certification in family law, and hopefully I'll.
Now, when someone comes in your office, I mean, there are people who've never been through a divorce before.
Correct.
This is the first time.
Right.
Tell everybody the
Walk us
steps
through,
that
yeah, I was
you
going
do
to say walk us through the steps.
All
when
right.
they walk into your office.
What I normally do, Steve and Renee, is I come in, we introduce ourselves. I then let them tell me what's going on. I need to know why you're here. I usually have an idea because my secretaries will prep me. So-and-so is coming in for a divorce, a custody matter, etc. I will let that client speak, usually it's 15, 20 minutes. Let me tell me what he or she is going through.
And that could go on for hours. You said 15, 20 minutes, but that could go on for hours.
Oh, yeah. What I try to do is I try to control the situation because I want to get relevant information and not. A lot of times people get emotional and go off.
Of course.
And that's not going to help them or me. So if I see a client getting out of control with emotions, I kind of put a break and I start asking the questions. Now, usually after 15, 20 minutes, after I let the client vent, then I start with my questions. How long they've been married, where have they lived, any children, has either party work, if they do, the respective incomes, what assets they have, what debts there are out there, and that's how.
And there's a lot of paperwork to fill out as well, because I remember I had to fill out so much paperwork.
In any divorce, whether contested or uncontested, you petition, of course. If there are children, you have to fill out a form called the uniform UCCJEA. Whenever, you usually have to fill out what they call financial affidavits, financial disclosure, so that's a lot of paperwork.
Wow.
And how do you find out if somebody's not disclosing their finances?
Well, you mean with my client or the other side?
No, the other side. If you're representing a client and the other client is saying that they're disclosing their finances, how do you find out about that?
Well, usually we have what's called mandatory disclosure.
I understand that, but not everybody discloses. Not everybody's honest.
Right. What I usually do is, even though I get from the other side their pay stubs, whatever, I subpoena their payroll records. We look at their bank statements. If someone says I only make $2,000 a month, but you're depositing $6,000 or $7,000 a month,
Right? Because when you own your own business, a lot of people own their
Right.
own businesses.
right, you pick that up right away.
Exactly.
You can subpoena bank records, credit card statements that show the expenditures that person's making. So again, if they say I make $3,000, but you're spending $10,000 a month,
Something's not right.
Something's not being reported. It happens a lot.
Here's another email that we got is, how do you calculate child support?
Okay.
Well, there's statutory guidelines that we use. Florida came up with actual guidelines as to how child support would be received and what percentage of what parent would have to pay. So we use a very simple calculator program that we use to calculate it. And
You think it's fair?
It's the combined income.
it's a combined income that is taken into consideration, and then it is allocated in terms of what parent who was the primary parent who was providing financially. So if husband or if wife makes $10,000 a month and husband makes $2,000 a month, then she will be paying a greater portion of the child support as compared to husband because he's making a lot less.
Okay.
So how do you divide marital assets?
Well,
Is it 50-50 or how does that work?
50-50. Well, first we have to qualify it as to either premarital asset or a marital asset. Not once we determine a certain asset as being a marital asset, then yes, it is presumably divided 50-50. Whatever income was earned during the course of marriage or whatever assets were obtained during the course of marriage, presumably divided 50-50. But of course, there are different factors that will sway judge's decision, and those things, such things as a spouse not able to pay alimony, and there's they have to pay a certain lump sum to provide some sort of stable housing for children and a spouse. So things like that would influence marital assets being divided in a different way. But yes, presumably it is 50-50.
Well, let's go to break. We come back. I want to hear about prenups. I mean, I guess you do prenups also.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with the money down here in South Florida, I bet that comes up
Yes,
more than just.
quite a bit.
Okay, we'll be right back.
The law office of John Elias understands that choosing a family law attorney is a difficult decision. The outcome of your case will likely affect your family's future for years to come. You need to set your mind at ease and call attorney John Elias at 954-392-1501. Attorney John Elias will be open and honest with you about what to expect in your case and treat you with the respect and compassion you deserve. John Elias's practice has been devoted to family law in Florida for over 25 years. He will be there with you every step of the way. John Elias has offices in Pembroke Pines and Boca Raton. Whether you are thinking about filing for divorce or you are having trouble with child support, relocation, or adoption, you should contact attorney John Elias for any family law matter at 954-392-1501. That's 954-392-1501.
And we're back. We just started talking about prenups. There's a lot of money down here in South
Yes.
Florida. Are a lot of people getting prenups now?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I would think it's very prevalent here.
It is extremely prevalent.
So tell everybody, I mean, everybody knows what a prenup is, though they probably hear it a lot on TV. Just explain real briefly what a prenup is.
Basically, what a prenup is, it defines a party's assets and liability, or usually assets, that they have before they're brought into the marriage, and that they will acquire during the marriage, and that will assets that will increase during the marriage, how the parties will decide or have decided how they will basically divide those assets.
Right, so if they get divorced, it's all settled before.
It's all settled before. An example saying, okay,
And it holds up in court?
yeah, if it's properly executed, if both parties read the agreement, understood it, provided what we call financial disclosure, disclosed all of their assets, and there was, and it was done in a timely manner. That means that one party didn't sign it within 5 minutes of getting it. Usually, it will hold up. If it's fair, it's got to be. There's several factors to make sure it's fair. There was full disclosure of everybody's assets, and it was each party had time to consider it and read it. Yes, it will be held up.
So what's a postnup you just mentioned before?
Postnup is very similar to prenup, except it says we're married. An example, we're having problems, and we have decided that if we just break up, John gets this, Betty gets this.
Wow.
So while they're married,
Yeah, they
they're
can-
already like splitting everything up.
Yes,
That's interesting.
Wow.
I never heard of that.
yes.
Wow.
That's not as prevalent or not as common as a prenup, but I've done,
Interesting.
Yes, but I've done some postnups. Yes, postnup.
Well, what's that show on Atlanta Housewives where the wife has got a lot of money and he doesn't have anywhere
Oh, Candy.
Yeah, and she wanted him to
He
sign
signed
a
it.
prenup. He wasn't too happy about it. though.
Well, you know something? You have to protect yourself.
I know. So does that end up sometimes prolonging the wedding? One of the
Or people canceling the wedding.
Well, I've had at least one instance where I knew that because of the one wife decided not to marry my client who was a dentist because he presented her with a prenuptial.
Wow.
Well, people see it as like distrust, or they think the marriage isn't going to last.
Right. She felt he was being
Or they just
distrustful.
want to divorce them and get the money.
Well, but like
You
I,
never know.
But I explained it. Like I said, listen, you've got a lot of assets, and you're marrying somebody who doesn't have what you've got, and you've got to protect yourself.
We had a grandparent that emailed us wanting to know, do grandparents have rights?
Grandparents do not have rights unless there is some sort of circumstances that would be in the best interest of the child to have grandparent involved. And an example of that would be parents died in a car accident and the child is now in foster care. So the grandparent can come in and ask the court to allocate some major rights. And we had a case like that where a grandparent.
Adopt the children, yeah.
But if mom and dad if it's an intact marriage and mom and dad are doing a great job and they're healthy and alive, and the grandparent wants to be more involved, but mom and dad do not want grandparents to be more involved, mom and dad can't keep that grandparent out.
Wow. So they really don't have any rights at all.
No.
Wow. Because I actually saw that. I mean, I know of someone that wants to see their grandchild.
And they can't. So they have now. They have no legal rights.
Wow.
Okay, so we had another email. Is there such thing as a legal separation?
Yeah.
Not
Listen
really.
where these people are coming from. You know what's going on in their life.
No.
All
in
these
Florida,
people are planning their divorce.
right. No, there is really no mechanism for legal separation. You're either divorced or you're separated or you're not.
No, I know. I asked you that last
Yeah,
month.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No.
So you don't get any like child support in the midst of the whole divorce.
There is one instance which is called example. Let's say that you're married and you and your husband don't want to get divorced, but you want to separate, but you want support. You can file.
And he
petition.
refuses.
You can file a petition for separate maintenance.
And how long does that process take?
It's I've only done 2 in 27 years. It's a rare. I think in Florida the average is about 2 filings per
I'm
year.
raising my hand because I had to do it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so you're one of the rare ones.
Yes.
And
Took me 3 months even to get a court date.
Yes, that's about the time, because you've got to file a petition. The other side has to respond. You file your financial.
Oh, they responded.
Yeah, they responded.
They did.
Everybody files their financial disclosure, and then you go to a hearing where the court determines, okay, temporarily, Renee, you're going to get X amount in alimony, X amount in child support. If there's ever a divorce, then that becomes.
And what happens if the husband leaves the state and then you file for the emergency child support?
What happens if
He just like disappears.
disappears?
You get nothing.
That's the court would reserve. Let's say if you are getting divorced, the court would divorce you most likely, and then reserve on the amount of child support and or alimony to be paid in the future.
Right. So it's
If
back
you-
support. You'll end up getting back support.
Also, I've had circumstances where the court will, if let's say the wife comes and says, "Well, here's what he's earned typically. Here's a copy of his returns," they could impute that income to the husband, saying, "Okay, he's going to pay X amount." Problem becomes you got to fine him.
Exactly.
And if you fine him, you can get an in-conduction order directed to his employer, where they would take that monetary support out.
Let's have both attorneys give your phone numbers again.
Yeah, sure. John Elias. My phone number is area code 954-392-1501.
Karina Arzamanova, and my office is 561-756-9370.
Okay, another question. Under what circumstances can alimony payments be reduced or even terminated?
Okay. Well, alimony can be reduced. Depends what type of alimony. There's 4 types. You got temporary, rehabilitative, durational, permanent, periodic, and lump sum.
Wow.
There's 5 types, not 4. I stand corrected.
Explain what they are.
Temporary is during the pendency of a divorce. A spouse says, "I need temporary support." The court will adjust an amount until the final hearing. Rehabilitative is where a spouse says, "Okay, I need to go back to school to rehabilitate myself." The court would then provide a limited period of time, a limited amount of alimony to allow that spouse
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
to get re-qualified for the job market. You've got durational alimony, which is a alimony for for marriages under 15 years, from 7 to 15 years, 16 years approximately, and that can go up to the duration of marriage, but not that long. You got permanent periodic, where a marriage of over 17 years, where there's a huge discrepancy in income between the parties, and then the recipient spouse gets it for life. Terminates upon her remarriage or death, or
Living arrangements, if she's living with someone, or he is.
If you can prove that the recipient spouse is living with someone and that person is supporting them, you have to file a petition to modify based on a changed circumstances. It's hard to prove, but you can do it.
You know, I got 4 emails just last week from the show. People want to know, how can they enforce child support? What can be done?
Well, to enforce child support, you have to petition the court, just like if you were to do anything else in family law court. And
Aren't the family law courts really crowded? I mean, with all the family law problems going on, are they just
Well, that's why you
jam-packed?
need great attorneys to handle this for you.
a lot, yeah, they're definitely very crowded, and the decisions sometimes are unpredictable because a lot, like John and I were discussing earlier today, judges' discretion matters a lot in family law cases. So having a good attorney and proper representation,
It makes a difference.
it definitely makes
Don't
a
try to
big
do
difference.
this yourself.
Yeah.
Please. There's so many
No.
women I've spoken to. Said,
Make sure
I
you have a
wish-
good attorney.
Yes, a lot of women I've spoken to that said, I just went too easy on my ex-husband. But we got a lot of them saying, how do we, I mean, I'm not getting my child support. What's the best way to get it enforced?
And you know, it's really also an interesting question, because sometimes men or women feel very proud and they say, I don't want anything from you. And that's a big mistake, because that child support is not usually, it is not your money. It's not
It's to
money
help
for
to
your
support
well-being.
the child.
Yeah, that money is money that the child is entitled to. So if you're not petitioning the court to enforce the child support, then you're pretty much taking money away from your child,
Yes.
money that their child deserves.
You know, I want to apologize. We had about 10 more emails.
We'll
The
have to save it for
time
next
just
month, I
flew.
know.
Thank you both for coming
Really?
on
Thank
today.
you, guys.
30
I
minutes
know.
went by?
You believe it? Thanks for coming. We will see
Thank
them
you.
next month. We'll start off with the emails next month.
We
Thank
have
you.
so many questions for them.
Thank you both for coming in today.
Thank
And
you.
this is, I think, one of the top law firms, family law firms,
Absolutely.
in South Florida. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
Everybody
guys.
have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Peace and love.
We're out.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show with Steve-O and Renee. Tune in every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. while some of the top local experts in their field from Broward and Palm Beach counties educate you in the areas of law, health, financial, and home improvement. You can also call our offices at 888-574-6999 to become an expert on our show. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff.